Good morning, I'm Jess Farnworth from Wakefield Educational Psychology. I'm one of the assistant educational psychologists, and I'm joined by Trevor Saxton this morning at Park Hill, and we're here to talk a little bit about puppets and how we use them in our ELSA work.
Morning, Jess.
Morning, Trevor. Would you like to start by just telling us a little bit about how you got into puppets?
So I started with the puppets in a preschool nursery, and then when I got into really feeling at ease with the puppets and my children seeing how captivated they were with them, I thought when I got into mainstream school, I'd carry that on with them.
This is, yeah, fantastic. I think, like you say, you sort of spent time building up your confidence with them
Yeah.
to then feel more confident when you came into a mainstream setting to use them a bit more in your work.
Yeah, definitely. And the characters which I have, I've always carried the same name on, not the same puppets, but...
I was going to say, would you like to introduce...
This is Dennis, and this is his sister Denise, Dennis and Denise. And it's names which, you know, just sprung to my mind. There's no reason why they're called Dennis and Denise. I do say that they're brother and sister. And again, that asks the questions because they don't look the same as well. So that already thinks, well, how can they be brothers and sisters? For various reasons, you can be brothers and sisters. So that's one thing where the children are thinking, well, they don't look the same. They don't look like brother and sister. That's one way. So that's one way of actually starting the conversation.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, what a brilliant way to engage them.
And again, the other one is why Dennis and why Denise?
Yeah.
Is it because Dennis the Menace? Could be. He's a little bit mischievous, is Dennis. And one of the things which we do. Don't matter which age groups is that within the room which I work in, I always have a sandpit. And with Dennis being mischievous, I always say that I take them off from where they belong, or on the table where the books where we're talking about, and then I will go and hide some of the shoes off Denise in the sandpit. So when the children come into the room, he's been at it again, Dennis. Is it Denise's shoes? Or Dennis himself will be in the sandpit. And he'll think, wow, they come alive. Yeah, so it's all fun with them. And Dennis is a little bit mischievous, and Denise has got a lot to put up with.
Yeah. So how did the children sort of immerse themselves in those personalities? How have you sort of, you know, brought them to life? Because obviously to us they're just teddies. So how do you engage the children with them? Well,
the room which we set up for them, it's their space, their time. So when they're coming into a room where they might be introduced to lots of things, lots of different characters in the puppets, but I feel as though when they come into a room, same as an adult, if they come into a room where they're thinking, oh, we're going to talk, they come within themselves, become nervous, become a bit, you know, if you like, holding things back. And I feel as though when I introduce the puppets, especially Dennis, and saying he's a little bit mischievous, you might have to help me look for his sister's Denise's clothes, ribbons, shoes. And then I said, just have a rummage in the sandpit for me. That's his favourite hiding place. So automatically you've got them doing a task for you, taking their mind off feeling that, you know, what have I come to talk about? What are you trying to help me? So automatically you've set them off on a task, but introducing a puppet, it's the puppets who are actually causing a little bit of a fuss. So we need to sort their fuss out, especially this young man's fuss out. So the child or the children will come and have a look. I found the shoes. How's it got there? And that's how we talk. And I'll say he's shy as well. Dennis is shy. Denise is a little bit angry, I can see with him. She may be a little bit sad. So, you know, how do you think Denise feels? So that's engaging. She's a bit sad, a little bit angry maybe that Dennis is always taking her belongings, hiding them from them, from her. And so the children will pick up, try and make Denise feel a little bit happy. Have a talk to Dennis for me, you know, and, you know, at first they think, but some they will, some they won't, you know, some like that. But then the character themselves will outbring, like Dennis, like that one, his little, sorry Denise, the character which will come that and say, oh, I'm really sorry, I didn't really want to make you sad. And then the children, I said, just talk, and then they'll do that at first, you know, and then when they're whispering, I'm saying, I'm telling you I'm sorry. See, but how did you know he was saying that? Or, no, they didn't say that. Well, what did they say? Talk to him, he'll talk back to you. So they talk to, and then if at first, I'll talk in my voice as Dennis's, for instance, like that.
And what's your name? Are you happy and sad? Are you mischievous like me? Mr. Saxton always tries to help me.
So we try and engage a little
fantastic.
characters
That's
for
incredible.
them. Yeah, and Denise is really shying, a bit upset, Denise, sometimes. Yeah, I'm always trying to find my shoes.
That is fantastic. And I think the nicest bit about it is when I think of puppets, I just think of immediately having them sort of on your hand and engaging children with them straight away. But actually,
No,
what
place
you've
them where they
explained
are.
there.
Yeah, a bit like Toy Story.
Yeah,
you know, the
completely.
characters, they'll seem like this one day, and then they come into the room, they could be anywhere. You know,
Yeah.
they could be open on the books. I've got some like Snakes and Ladders there as well. I get the
okay.
Snakes and Ladders, though they've been playing Snakes and Ladders. So just if I know I've got a session working with children,
Yeah.
it may be a planned session,
Yeah.
which I would actually think that each child may not interact with Dennis or Denise individually. I've got one particular boy who loves
I was going to say, you've got quite a few different ones, haven't you?
who loves Luigi,
Yeah.
and that, and he's had a bit of a makeover because he plays with him that much.
Oh,
I have to
bless
stitch him up. And then, you know, we've got little nursery children,
Yeah,
different
these
age ones, yeah, but for reasons to them, you know, I do ask the question, is there any particular one which you would like to hold and any particular one you'd like to play with? But I would say from reception children, they seem to go for, I don't know if that's the size of them.
Yeah.
You know, the main reason I ask them that is because if they're looking and thinking, can I play, can't I play with them? Is there any other person or character which you would like to hold and talk to and engage, talk about the worry books or our feeling, what we're feeling?
Yeah.
They'll pick the smaller ones up.
Ah, that's
Personally,
interesting.
I think it's because of the size and that they're easy to
Yeah,
manoeuvre
sort of,
with the fingers.
Absolutely.
And then from Key Stage 2, which is
Right,
totally
okay.
a surprise, really.
Yeah.
I would think that they wouldn't engage, you know, from year 3 upwards, automatically. They don't even have to be told. They see the
Wow.
puppets, maybe because of the friends in school as well, say,
Yeah.
oh, there's Dennis Denise there, there's puppets there. Go and have a talk to Mr. Saxton, and you've got the puppets to talk to as well.
But there's no sort of, so even with the Key Stage 1 and sort of more the early years type, you'll still have all
still
them,
have any
so they
option
can sort
for
of
them
choose
to,
from.
yeah.
Fantastic.
Ratatouille as
Yeah.
well. Now Ratatouille, again, the children who pick Ratatouille
Oh,
up,
he's like
I
a
find
puppet,
that they are there for them again to choose. But Ratatouille, I'm just thinking about that. They pick Ratatouille up and talk to him in a quieter voice.
Ah,
You know,
really? That's interesting.
if that's because it's animal based as well, they've got a softer tone with them. Yeah. So
okay.
rather than being like like Dennis's the voice which I've done for Dennis,
Yeah.
Ratatouille's voice is a very whispery voice.
Oh, gosh,
And maybe that's because the characters where we're trying to introduce have got their own personalities, but the boys interact and girls interact with the voice a very low one.
Wow,
So
gosh,
this
that's
is a
interesting.
character where if they're really up there to
Yeah.
bring back down, Ratatouille is the one who always speaks nice and calmly and gently to them.
Ah, fantastic. That's
Yeah.
interesting. So they can actually change sort of
Yeah.
the tone, the sort of the
Yeah.
atmosphere and the tone
It's
of the
all
atmosphere.
ad-lib. There's no program where I follow. There's nothing
Yeah.
where I follow a script. And one of a year 3 boy now, but when he was in year 1, you know, he was finding it's difficult in lots of ways,
Yeah.
but talking quietly and gently, it helped him to come down and be
Wow,
really
gosh,
calm.
yeah.
I wouldn't attempt
incredible, isn't
to
it?
actually introduce Dennis and Denise
Yeah.
because of the voice and the characters they are. Each one again with the little animals, little again soft voices for them to bring children into a calmer environment and
Yeah.
space. You know, the
Oh,
bit of
that's
mischievous
fascinating.
one or Dennis is the one where, you know, if they're feeling sad, you know, that is the characters
That's the-
where the vibrant ones like to cheer them up, you know,
Yeah,
because of the
absolutely. Yeah,
personalities they've
yeah.
got.
And sort of channel their energy in positive ways
Yeah.
instead of sort of maybe if they're in the classroom
Yeah.
and sort of it being quite disruptive, they've sort of got that,
Yeah.
that opportunity to channel it
Come
positively.
and we run sessions or we run what we call assembly groups where on the wall on the nurture group setting we've got
some fantastic pictures
introducing the characters, but again the key stage, 2 children on our nurture wall there with photographs, sharing milk, sharing games. Got the Bop It game, which
there's a photo on there, isn't there, of him?
Yeah, Dennis is the champion. Denise likes to do the drawings and play Ring a Ring of Roses with the girls on there as well. But,
fantastic.
But we've got a great rapport with the children with them as well.
And I think from that wall and the photos that are on there, you can see how they are just part of the interventions and all the work, the assembly groups, the break time groups and things that you do, from drinking milk to playing Bop It, to being in the sandpit and having breakfast. They're just part of that.
Part of the routine.
Part of the routine and the community of this space, aren't they? And the ELSA sessions that you run.
Yeah. There's 2 girls, year 5 girls, soon to be year 6. They're there for, again, the reason to actually build bridges, bond friendships for them. One of the things which I've introduced Dennis and Denise were because 2 particular year 5 girls now were having friendship issues, and thanks to Dennis and Denise, they've not only got friends but they've started playing together. So
fantastic.
the girls who didn't quite hit it off, you know, introduced them to Dennis and Denise at the same time. So they've got a little group of friends. So if it felt uncomfortable and they weren't talking on speaking terms, then they would speak to Dennis and Denise. They didn't argue. One automatically picked Dennis up, thankfully, and one picked Denise up. They weren't arguing over that one. So
and sort of talking through the puppets then. How did they?
What they used to do is just saying, is there any reason why the friendship is not working? Is there any reason why you're not playing at play times? Is there any reasons why you can talk to Dennis and Denise openly? Because you can see them talking, interacting. If it's easy to talk to puppets, what is easy about talking to puppets? And then they will open up and say, well, it's because they're a character, they're not real. But they are real. They are real characters. No, they're not. Yeah, they are. Then you interact and say, again, hiding things. I'm like, no, they're not. Come on, we're year 5. They don't come alive. But they do. Well, what do you think? Yeah, and then they start talking. I think Mr. Saxon's kidding. No, well, talk to him, find out. And then they're really surprised when, Dennis, he hides my things. See, it were you. No, it wasn't. It were Denise. So then they interact. Well, how would Dennis talk to you? So they start talking to the puppets, then interacting with each other. And then when they're talking to each other, they see that they're actually having a bit of fun. So it's a way of actually bringing people together.
Absolutely,
so that is my latest, if you like, success with them. The 2 year 5 girls. Now you can't split them apart now. So I'm having to
gone the opposite way.
I'm having to actually have words now with Dennis and Denise with them, saying it's also kind to involve lots of other boys and girls. So I've started introducing their siblings in school. So we're having a bigger session than thinking that if we're working with their siblings, because they are friendly to them at home, hopefully, and also that if we can interact with more than each other, then introduce 1, 2, 3, then we're going to pick a friend then, so we can introduce them and bring them into the group.
The thing that stands out for me is that the puppets are just such a normal part of the space, and just sort of part of the offer that you give to the children, and so it's quite normal for them to be around, isn't it? And I think it takes quite a lot of time probably to build up to the point 100%. Where the children walk in and interact with the puppets like they're real. To build the personalities and the characters of them. I can imagine it's something that takes a lot of time to get to that point where the children feel comfortable enough around them to use them to support with friendships and things like that. Yeah,
friendship issues works a treat for myself, and the school in general. Same as with any other school, friendship. As year 5 girls falling out, year boys arguing over football, year 6 boys and girls. As soon as they get the sats out of the work, the girls, I must say this, the girls in year 6, they find time, they would do anything to come in this room. Can we clean your room up? So I was so curious why you wanted to come and, I've got some brushes down there. Yeah, they'll sweep my sand up, and as soon as I've gone out of the room, they're picking the puppets up and they're playing with the puppets. Year 6 girls, I'm thinking, wow.
Gosh,
Come through the
So
door and thinking,
powerful.
oh, we're tidying your room up. Yeah, can play with them. So you're doing a great job.
Yeah.
Just leave them into
Just-
that.
yeah.
I suppose the pressure of SATs as well for them.
Absolutely.
It's a release for them.
Absolutely.
Even before, can we come and tidy your room? Just so they can come and play. You associate, don't you, puppets, I would personally think, reception,
Yeah,
nursery,
absolutely.
nursery play toys.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised that, how engaging it is, how captivated they are, because it's not real.
Yeah. Completely.
And I personally think that when children are talking, if it were in a cartoon world, everything would be fun, everything would be colourful for them, and the language which they use, it brings their colour, their personalities out talking to puppets.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a release for them as well.
Yeah.
To them, it's not real. And if you're picking up and talking about certain topics, this week's topic's been about talking about the worries.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
this is why I've got the books here. Again, this is not just planned. We have different books out which I've got in the room, and I always focus the puppets in middle of a table. So if they pick up a worry book, oh, I've got worry. What's your worry? Tell Denise your worries, and they'll tell you their worries. And it's like not a real world. They're not telling an adult. To them, if I say something, will I be in trouble? You can't be in trouble off Dennis and Denise, because it's a cartoon world to them. It is happening. It's real. So they will tell you stories. They'll tell you stories where they're crying out for help, really.
And they're asking for that support.
They're asking for that support, and if the support comes from a character, to them it's comforting.
It offers sort of that distraction, doesn't it, and that diversion. They don't quite realise what they're doing.
It is, It's taking their mind off. Like I said before, they come into a room, they're a little bit anxious, a little bit nervous. They know that, and when an adult's talking to someone, have a feeling, am I in trouble?
Yeah, absolutely,
if you're talking, we're sorting things out, we're helping.
Absolutely.
And the
So
biggest help
positively
I've got-
framed, aren't they? There's sort of no consequences to what they say or sort of how they. And I can imagine. Has there ever been a time where they've sort of, thrown one, or because you give them personalities? I can imagine the children being quite nurturing and caring towards them, and treating them like they are real, not sort of, throwing them or, being harmful to them. I can imagine they.
Yeah, I get that, the frustration which the children are expressing within the room themselves, their emotions. The puppets, all the belongings in the room. It takes a long time for them to captivate it, to understand it, that their frustration's got to come from somewhere.
Absolutely.
And I encourage it, actually. Sometimes if you're feeling that it needs to be released, release it. Dennis is big enough and strong enough; he can take it. And they do. I've seen them take the shoes off for them, pull his jacket and jeans. I've seen them swinging Denise's hair out and release them. And then when you realise that it had to be done, that is another way where you can actually bring them back down by, just changing the mood and saying, oh, Dennis has got feelings too. You're upset. You're angry. I'll bet Dennis and Denise, or the characters where you're playing, I can see that probably that they would be feeling exactly the same as you are, and maybe they're feeling it now. I feel it's a big mistake if you, why have you done that straight away? Just pick up, still let that frustration be seen if need be, and by the child if you're seeing that and you're holding the puppet. I feel that
sort of modelling
that it's okay. You can be comforted. I'm comforting the puppet, and then just still let them just have that time themselves, and then just gently introduce then the puppet in a calm. If you're holding it still, then a little. I always tend to rock them a little bit, and then move it further up to the body,
like the sort
and
of
then
like
just
a baby
calming.
almost.
It works again. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I can just think this is not working, because depending on how severe they're feeling, their mood, it might be a case that they just need to be left alone.
And do you find, because I've not spoken to you about this before, in terms of what it looks like across the wider school, or how sort of, do teachers know that you use puppets the way that you do, and sort of how that looks across sort of the wider school, or is it something at the minute that's quite sort of just within this space?
It's just within this space, apart from when I see everyone, the adults included, when I'm moving rooms and I'm carrying Dennis and Denise under my arms and, you know, where are you going with them puppets? What are you doing with puppets? And then that's, well, it's an engagement for the children, reception children, who also love them. So not a lot of the adults understand, not of the adults,
completely,
you know, think, again, well, they may be thinking, what a waste of time. They might be thinking, you know, is it appropriate? I don't know. But what I'm trying to get across the message is that, you know, it gives comfort.
Absolutely.
It tells stories, and you listen to stories, and I let the children tell the story, how they feel. You know, if the teacher is saying, well, you know, same with the Year 5 girls now, how come they're so close? You know, maybe I've got to work now a little bit, including more, but I've got to include, and it's down to these puppets.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is inspirational. We've spoken about in our supervision sessions about the impact that puppets has had on the work that you do, and how they are just completely immersed in every session and used to facilitate the sort of the sessions that you do. And I guess thinking about sort of other staff across school who might like to come and see some of the work that you do, and, you know, just to sort of almost spread that word a little bit about how powerful having sort of the soft items and the puppets can be in promoting those discussions and sort of within that sort of behaviour management and emotional support.
100%, because I would recommend, if anybody wants anything, any help, any guidance,
absolutely.
to come and see how we operate in Park Hill, how I operate with them. The offer invitation is there. If anyone wants to get in touch, by all means, point them in direction.
Absolutely.
Speak to some children if need be, and also that I can also say that if the staff are not wanting, it's fine too. It works, and it doesn't work for some people. I
think if I was to use puppets, I'd feel quite nervous about using them with the young people.
Well, that's the point, you see. If you're in an environment where you're uncomfortable yourself, or it's out your comfort zone, children are very good, and they are absolutely experts at picking up on other people's, adults especially, their mood. And they can see if you're out your comfort zone. You know, it's not going to be really engaging for themselves to really feel comfortable. If you're uncomfortable, you can imagine the children would be feeling, well, why have I got to? You know, that anxiety will be thinking, I don't really, because you're not comfortable.
Completely.
You know, so you've got to be really happy and comfortable in a place where you think, that's okay, I'll give it a go. You can only try.
Absolutely.
And if you think, well, it's not for me, then
that's that's okay, but just having them around.
But please don't feel as though you're going to be thinking, I've got to, you know, I've got to give it a try. You know, sometimes if you don't try, you won't know.
Absolutely,
you might act like myself. I mean, I loved it.
From
day
completely,
one, from dancing around with ribbons to puppet work, you know, I loved it. Loved it.
And I think the more you do use them, and the more you just allow them to be in your environment, the more natural us as ELSAs and staff would feel around them. And so that sort of obviously mirrors how the children with it will interact with them as well. So just sort of being able to build up that confidence.
Yeah, definitely. But please don't feel as though, you know, if you're working with puppets, let the children work with them.
Yeah, completely.
You can just sit back and just, you know, just now and again just say, oh, that was really good. You know, just point out the obvious that, oh, you're really speaking. You know, you don't have to do the voices. You don't have to sit there and do a puppet show for them. Let them hold them. Let them interact with them, and actually just say, oh, that was really nice. That was really thoughtful what you've done there.
I think that's one of the biggest things I've taken away from what you've been talking about, because my image of using puppets in ELSA work was sort of they'd be on your hands, and they'd be sort of as part of the plan for the session.
I never plan anything.
I think that to me is really reassuring, and already reduces my anxieties around using them, because you just think they just fall into it naturally if that works in that moment, as opposed to sort of having that, I've got to use puppets in this session today, which is the pressure that I would then feel quite unnatural using them with.
Which is natural. You're natural as an adult. If you're out of a comfort zone, like you're saying, children will pick up on that.
Are there any sort of big things that stand out in I know we've mentioned a couple in terms of like the big do's or don'ts when you're using puppets around? I know one of them being sort of treating them as if they are humans in terms of a big thing to do when you're using them. But are there anything that you can sort of jump out? Because I know you use them a lot, so you've got a lot of experience with using them, and is there anything that you think sort of would be really, really useful advice when it comes to the ELSAs? I know already you've said a lot.
Not to be forceful with them.
Yeah.
Let it be a free room for them. Let them take charge.
Yeah.
Let them have their own time and space. I would never put a puppet and say, here you go.
I guess you wouldn't plan your ELSA interventions thinking, I'm going to use puppets for this purpose.
It's got to be completely open. And again, if it's a focus point where they're actually saying why, or who are these characters, well, then they've come to you, so come and have a look at Dennis and Denise. Same as I mentioned earlier, that Dennis being really mischievous, it captivates their imagination that they come alive. He's in Denise's shoes, and you've got them interacting, doing things on their own free will, really. You can't say, you must go, you must do this. It's always got to be, would you mind, would you like to, even not just talk, just let them have their time.
Just let them have their
if you just let, there's lots of times where I sit back. I might spend 25 minutes, might spend 30 minutes, just not doing anything apart from just watching, smiling, eye contact.
You can learn a lot from just like you mentioned about the two young girls, sort of just observing how they are using them and what words they're saying and sort of what they're talking to them about. You can learn a lot just from that as well, I guess.
Play is a powerful tool. Silence, quiet time for them as well. They may not have any quiet time. They may not have any time to engage with anyone. So at least it's the imagination which they're engaging with. It's their play they're engaged with, and it's not do's and don'ts from an adult, from someone older, from them. So it's on their terms. Whatever they're wanting to tell you, it's on their terms. You're not feeding for questions. You're not feeding for answers. It's all, I'm doing this because I want to, because it's a calm, it's a safe environment for them, it's a friendly environment for them. So,
it's fascinating. And I guess we've touched quite a lot on using them in group work. Have you used them in sort of one-to-one work before, or what does that look like? Have you got any examples of?
Again, the boy who I mentioned is now in year 3. He had quite a, how can I express that he was feeling within himself, or you could see that he was feeling a lot of frustration, a lot of anger, a lot of things happening out of school. So he weren't in a space where we could actually introduce him to friends at that time. It was a period of time where we had to engage and find out how he was feeling. I feel it wouldn't happen if you were trying to engage him into a friendship group, but as an individual, where you really should be that role model. And if you're being that role model and you've got help, again,
there's almost three role models, isn't there?
And again, at first, it was a case of where he was spitting, where he was language, which he weren't being really calm at all. There were lots going off, but that calming influence again, where you didn't have to say anything. You just need to be in a space. You just need to be. You need to know that you're okay. There's things in there. If you want to go and have a play, go and have a play. And how it worked for him, where just give him time. He weren't forced, and then he would come. He would sit. He would then, play in the sandpit as one. Introducing Dennis. He always used to pick Dennis, never Denise. And thinking about it, he was his favourite, and thinking about that. How he wanted someone to play with. He wanted someone to talk to.
I see,
so as it turns out that he was very angry with things happening in his own life. But I think that people, when you see individuals in a classroom, as little as they are, that if you're throwing things around, it's not going to encourage people to come and play with you.
Completely,
So in a way, it worked
the puppets
for
don't
him.
have that opinion, do they? They're always there. They'll always sort of respond.
And he picked them up and engaged, and it brought him down. And then if he could see and hear his talking, his interactions with the puppet Dennis, then you realise and understand that his frustration were and his anger were that not a lot of people listened to him. Not a lot of people wanted to play with him.
Yeah.
You know,
That's really powerful, isn't it?
It's a powerful tool to have.
Yeah.
You know, just by standing back and seeing that his focus actually wanted to be interacted with someone, and that someone is a puppet.
Is a puppet.
So it is very
wow.
powerful, and again, maybe if it works for someone who's angry, someone who's frustrated, you know, it can be in a way to work then towards friendship groups.
Yeah.
You know, and understanding that anger, you're angry or you're upset about something, it's a way in.
Yeah,
so you can find out lots.
Yeah, I think the part about, because there are a lot of children who sort of feel quite isolated because they don't feel like friends like them, or people like them in the classroom if they've sort of hurt someone or upset someone in the playground. So they almost act as that friend for a lot of young people, don't they? Who sort of is always there and never goes, regardless of sort of what happens.
And again,
that's brilliant.
with Luigi, with his stitching, when swinging around, when they get hurt as well, we get the plasters, which got a little first aid.
Brilliant.
We put plasters, we get a bandage or eye patches on them. I shouldn't really be saying this, but I've got the ice packs, which are, no, please not the ice packs, not an ice pack.
They're valuable.
So I apologise, Park Hill staff. I've used 1 or 2 ice packs.
But that's brilliant because it just gives them those personalities and that character, and the fact that they still have feelings just like we do, and they still feel hurt and pain like we do as well.
And they need fixing.
And they need fixing, and they need that help as well.
Characters need fixing. Children need fixing.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's that's brilliant. That's really good. Thank you very much, Trevor, for joining us this morning. It's been lovely to hear about how you use them at Park Hill, because I know they are a huge part of your ELSA work. So we're really grateful that you've taken the time to catch up with us this morning.
And it's been great introducing Dennis and Denise and the other characters, really.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jess. Thank you.